Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here. So obviously TSM fans have been a little bit down bad ever since the news came out that Bjergsen was going to be leaving. We really have no idea who the next TSM mid laner is going to be. We don't even know who a lot of the players on the next TSM roster are going to be. Some of the ideas seem really exciting, really cool, really good. But it seems like a lot of them seem not so good. But in this video, we're at least going to talk about a name that I think could potentially be really, really exciting, and one that I personally would really like to see. But before we get into that, make sure you guys check out the first link in the description below. You know it at this point. My Twitch channel, twitch.tv/I_am_Germ. I would appreciate it so much. Channel's been doing really well lately. Really happy, really excited. So drop a follow, maybe drop a prime. That'd be awesome. With that being said, let's get right into this one. So who we're talking about today comes from Mr. Applehead himself on Twitter. Said a couple days ago at this point, but it seems like this has been coming up more and more. There's a lot of new updates to the situation, but this was kind of one of the first tweets that started it all. Applehead said, rumor, Mad Lions is expected to move on from Humanoid, and Carzzy will be exploring free agency. Now we know that Carzzy is most likely headed to Vitality. That seems to be like one of the big stories that was coming out and everything. But one of the names that we hadn't heard as much about was Humanoid potentially being available, and obviously there's going to be a lot of teams in the West that are very, very interested in Humanoid, coming off back-to-back LEC championships, getting out of groups at Worlds, making it to MSI and doing well, making top 4 there. Humanoid has been one of the better mid laners in Europe, a league that has a ton of mid lane talent over the last couple of years, so that is very, very exciting for a lot of people, and again, a big name hitting the market is going to get people excited, especially when there's a lot of NA teams who could use a pretty good mid laner right now. But he does go on to say, it is said that these players could be exploring both NA and LEC options. TSM and C9 have shown interest in Humanoid. Now, I think both of these options would be very, very interesting. Obviously, seeing them on TSM or C9 would be very, very cool, and both teams are now looking for a mid laner. We heard Bjergsen a couple days ago will not be returning to TSM. We now know that Perks is most likely headed to Vitality, so all of a sudden C9 is looking for a mid laner. But we know at this point Cloud9 is also still in the running for Bjergsen, who we have to assume they would be taking over Humanoid. But TSM, we don't really know a whole lot of, their options at this point. There are people throwing around, TSM Chovy or like Jizuke, or maybe they keep PoE, maybe they go young somewhere, maybe they try and, import some, XYZ mid laner. I don't know, but to me it just doesn't seem like an obvious name that stands out, but Humanoid could be a pretty good name, I think, and this really, really got me excited because right now, as a TSM fan, I think the future looks a little bleak. I'm not really excited. I'm not really seeing what moves we're going to be able to make. I know Reggie's talking about, we're going to build the developmental roster. We're going to go towards the future. But at the same time, he's saying we're going to be one of the biggest spenders in the league. Like, which one is it? You're kind of playing both sides. But all of a sudden, Humanoid would make things very, very interesting. A guy that could definitely be a part of the future, and a guy that would cost you a pretty penny right now. So maybe, the puzzle pieces are kind of falling right into place. We also had the live stream from Wooloo, where he was talking about all the different rumors, everything he knows. And as you can see here, he has Humanoid in this orange color on Mad Lions. And this orange color, or yellow, he says. I mean, it looks orange to me, but maybe it's yellow. And there he says that the yellow means that the player is on sale, meaning that the player could stay, could maybe be sold. So, at the very least, we can confirm from maybe multiple sources now that Humanoid might be being shopped around. He might be on the market. And again, this is a very, very good sign for the North American teams. Wooloo also went on later in this stream to say that if Humanoid does get sold, he would expect it to be to North America. Now, obviously, that does not mean he's going to North America for sure. That just means if Mad Lions does get to the point where they are like, we're selling off Humanoid, whether it's because their roster's blowing up, whether it's because they can get a bunch of money for him, or because they have a new mid laner lined up, or whatever, if he gets sold, he expects him to go to NA, whether it's because the money's right, or there's just not as many EU teams interested at the right price tag, or whatever. That's kind of what he's thinking there. So again, that puts TSM and Cloud9 back on the table. And again, I just think C9 has a couple of different other options they're looking at. And I kind of think and hope that TSM, would be that option. Obviously, TSM is looking for a very, very talented mid laner. Obviously, being the guy who replaces Bjergsen. Yes, PoE was there for a year. It seems like they will be moving on from PoE. And PoE was good, but, in the grand scheme of things, like with Bjergsen being there 6, 7, 8 years or whatever, and PoE just being there 1 year, you're still going to be the guy replacing Bjergsen in most people's eyes, especially now that Bjergsen's going to be on some other team. TSM's going to be competing against him directly. I think you need to get somebody good. I think you need to get somebody exciting. I think the fans want somebody to build around. And mid lane is such an important position. It is such an influential position, and especially for a franchise that has been, so spoiled in the mid lane position for so long. I think people are going to be, disappointed by anything that's not really greatness, even if it is developmental, even if it's going towards the future. This person better be showing some talent, promise, whatever potential going forward. But even as far as talented, promising potential mid laners, I don't really see a ton of these on the market. And also, we know that TSM has this FTX money. We know Reggie's been talking about, we're not going to spend all of our FTX money. We have other things we need to do with it. But still, the League of Legends team is very, very important to the TSM brand. Reggie can try and downplay it. He can try and act like whatever. I think he's just kind of making excuses for striking out on a lot of free agents and stuff and trying to justify them maybe not spending as much, because obviously they're a business at the end of the day. They want to save some money for themselves as well. But to me, this is just kind of lining up too well. Humanoid potentially being on the market, TSM potentially looking for a guy of his skill set, his caliber, being able to import another European class mid laner who's still, not young in his career, but, still kind of early days, still has a lot of hopefully great prime years ahead of him. And a guy who brings, some flair, some swag, some excitement, some carry potential, some aggressive play, some EU winning mindset over to TSM, a team that desperately needs some of that. And I really think that Humanoid pairing up with Spica would be super, super cool. But the hard thing is, TSM has been blessed with having Bjergsen being a resident for the last couple of years and being able to import at 2 different other positions. If you do bring in a guy like Humanoid, you'd have to have a resident in one of your bot lane roles, which is really, really tough because outside of tactical, there are rumors that Danny is potentially on the market to be bought out too. There's not really much else for resident AD carry talent, and there's really probably even less for resident support talent. Again, Vulcan is, rumored to be maybe getting shopped around. So, there's maybe some buyouts and stuff that TSM could land. But as far as, developmental, going young, whatever, it seems like it's going to be a little bit weird. One of the updates we do have from this whole thing, though, is that Skeleton, rumor account, says that Humanoid to TSM is dead, by the way. But he also does chime in that he's just saying, at least for now, meaning that maybe this is not dead entirely, meaning, it seems like TSM and Humanoid potentially have been in talks, and maybe those talks aren't going well because Humanoid's waiting to see for other offers. Maybe he's waiting to see, if Bjergsen's going to end up on Cloud9. Maybe he's waiting to see what kind of roster TSM's going to end up with. These tweets to me don't completely close the door. And again, any rumor, leaker account, whatever, you got to take everything with a grain of salt. People get stuff wrong. Stuff changes all the time. Just because it looks like Humanoid to TSM might be dead right now, I still think everything's possible. And regardless, I just think it's a very, very interesting discussion to have because TSM fans are looking for something to get excited about. I think even Humanoid being an option at this point, I think is something that a lot of TSM fans would take because it's at least something to maybe give them a little bit of hope for the future. But yeah, I think this move would be very, very cool. And if Reggie was able to pull this one off, I think people would have a reason to get excited. I think this could be potentially a very, very good move for TSM in both the short term and the long term. But maybe it's a long shot. But that's pretty much it for this video today, guys. Definitely drop a like if you did enjoy it. I would appreciate it so much. Leave a comment down below. Do you think TSM Humanoid would be a good idea, bad idea? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Subscribe, stay up to date on all my latest content. Hopefully catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace.